JJ Solomon.
This Corey Bradshaw, Mr. RTBA. Mr. These boys can't touch me on my worst day. This is the Spit Bucket Podcast. It's your boy, Mr. RTBA, Mr. 214, with my dog, JJ Solomon, my partner in crime. We are TSB. We are the Spit Bucket. Y'all know how we coming. JJ, what's popping, my guy?
Another episode of this Spit Bucket Unscripted, bro. It's a lot popping. It's Wednesday. It's a beautiful hump day. I got my cold glass of apple juice. Enjoying my
And you know what? I'm looking at that shirt. It's looking mighty nice on you, man. That KO Therapeutic, you understand me?
What can we say? I'm feeling good. My neck ain't hurting. My back ain't hurting because of these guys right here. KO Therapeutics. Check them out at kocbd.com. Don't forget that discount code TSB10.
And everybody, if you ain't subscribed, please subscribe. Please like. Please share this broadcast. We got a special show tonight. But before we get to this show, y'all know we got to give shout out to our sponsors of the Spit Bucket Podcast, KO Therapeutic, baby.
Let's show them what we're talking about real quick before we proceed.
We all have battles. We fight. We train. We work. We persevere. And we celebrate. We are all one.
I can't do anything if I can't walk in my prosthetic. It's a lot of pain that I feel throughout my day. It can be very intense. Now I just put that balm over it and it will heal up much faster and it will let the callus recover. That's amazing. It is a total game changer. I am hooked. I am absolutely, I'm just hooked.
Life is hard. KO makes it better. KOCBD.com.
Hey, like Paulina said, it's a total game changer. You hear me? Paulina said it best. It's a total game changer. It's one of the best, if not the best, pain relievers that's actually grown on a farm. And
it ain't bad for your body. It's not bad for your body. You know what I mean?
It's not bad for your body, right?
All natural.
Shout out to KO Therapeutics. Go to kocbd.com. Make sure y'all put in that special promo code TSB10.
Awesome, man. But we got an awesome show lined up tonight, man. We're going to talk a little bit about the Conor Benn situation and the PEDs. We'll talk a little bit about the towering Inferno and his big fight this weekend, Fedora against Ocampo. And we've got a very, very, very special guest. Some of us know him as Lukey. Some of us know him as Luke. Some of them know him as Lucas Ketelle. Went from itrboxing.com. He's a writer. He's a boxing guru. And now he's an author, a published author. So we've got him on. You want to go ahead and welcome our homie, Lukey?
Well, let's bring in our guy, Lukey, man. ITR Boxing. The ropes.
There he is. What's going on, Mr. Lukey?
What's up with y'all?
I've always called you Lukey, dog. Is it Lukey Ketelle or Ketelle?
Doesn't matter. You could call me that guy. Hey, you, Lukey, Lucas, Luke. I've gone
Big
by
dog
slew
Lukey,
of nicknames. Big dog.
How you pronounce it, though?
What do you mean, my last name?
Yeah.
Ketelle.
Shout out to Lucas Ketelle, man.
It was a classic public school when there was a substitute teacher. When they got to my name, it was going to be for sure messed up.
Yeah, bro. I'm with you there. My last name's Solomon, and it's either misspelled or missaid all the time. So I feel you on there. So I'm JJ, and then I can't tell how many times they call Kyrie, Carrie, all sorts of stuff. So I feel you, Lukey. I feel you, man. But we appreciate you being on the show, dude. Sounds like you had did you play some golf this morning? It looked like I seen you in Lake Tahoe. Is that right?
Well, that was yesterday. It was my birthday, but I just want you guys to know I don't view this as media. I view you as friends and family, and I'm just honored to be on here because I'm a fan of this show. So we can cut all that nonsense. I just want to be on here because I respect you as people, and I had a good round at Edgewood.
That's good, brother. Corey and I are going to actually be in the tournament in a month from now. Is that right, Corey? You excited?
Yeah.
About your first tournament?
Yeah. I mean, I know JJ gonna be in the tournament. He the one who know how to swing them clubs. I put my boy JJ Solomon up against any.
Whoa.
Okay, I'll take that. I got even par at Edgewood, so I'll run that.
You hear that, Craig? You write a check that I'm not gonna be able to cash.
I'm saying I'm taking fades, so I'm running it. So.
No, man, that's not gonna work. I'm just saying I'll be there to spectate.
Lukey, we brought you on the show today, because you did some monumental in the sport of boxing. It's rare. I know you see books, but it's rare in my lifetime since I've been covering boxing almost 7 years. I never seen one of my peers put out a book so eloquently like you did. So first off, I want to say congratulations. I need everybody from the 214 or wherever you at to across the pond to give my dog, Big Dog Lukey, big dog respect for Inside the Ropes Boxing.
Big congrats. I couldn't have said any better myself, Lukey. We're going to get into this book here in a little bit. We'll talk some boxing shit at first, but yeah, definitely. We have to start off with that, letting the folks know that that's a huge accomplishment. Like when you and I were talking about it, that's been a bucket list deal for me for a long time to write a book. So huge salute, huge congratulations. It's called Inside the Ropes of Boxing by Lucas Ketelle. The guy's a boxing guru. He knows the sport in and out. He knows the business of it. He knows the past. He knows the gurus. He knows the future of the sport. So big salute, dog. We're proud of you. Before we jump too much into it, though, you want to let folks know where they can buy it, or maybe you can throw it in the comments.
Let me jump on the YouTubes and I'll leave a comment. But I just want to let you know, JJ, I'm sure you're gonna write your book, and I appreciate all the kind words. But I hope this isn't the end. I'm just I know we're gonna get into the boxing talk. The only thing I want to jibber jabber about the book is, besides any question, is I'm proud that it was not meant for me to be a vanity project or to feel good. I wrote this. It's very short. I worked hard to make it accessible to all ages. It's for young people or people that are entering in boxing, to give them things to think about with their career so they don't have to learn on the job. So I'm very proud that I hope that this can be a tool to help people in the future.
I love it, brother. I love it. And we'll get back into it. Let's get some of our viewers up and then we'll jump back into it here in 15 minutes or so, if you're good with that. But first, guys, big news today. We always hear Mr. IOTBA talking about from 214 to across the pond. We had some big news from across the pond today. We had the big Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. fight coming up this weekend on Saturday. Born rivals is what they're titling it, because we know their daddies fought. But huge wrench thrown into plans today as Conor Benn tested positive for, I forget the name of it, but I know it's a
start with a C.
Start with a C, and yeah, I forget what it's called, but if I'm not mistaken, it looks like a
Colomon or something.
A masker of other PEDs. What are y'all's thoughts? We'll go first with you, Corey. What are you thinking so far?
No, let's start with our guest, Lukey.
Oh yeah,
what's your thoughts on hearing that big news about Conor Benn and Chris Eubanks Jr.?
I mean, I'm very conflicted on this news. I think there should be a zero tolerance policy on any drug abuse thing. Paulie Malignaggi kind of said it best. You never hear the guy that gets caught for these things and they go, "Oh man, dog, you caught me." It's always there's some sort of accident there. You don't understand what I was going through. And this situation reminds me of Oscar Valdez versus Robson Conceicao, where it puts the other fighter in in a position where they have to be compromised in some way, but they also want an opportunity. They want to check. Boxing, like I think the drug's called Clomid. I'm not an expert on PEDs. I'm not Victor Conti or any of these experts. From my ability to understand this, it seems like any healthy man wouldn't be taking a form of estrogen or a female thing unless they're restarting their testosterone system. That's my experience with lifting weights. When men are using estrogen, it's because they've been putting synthetic testosterone in their body and they need to restart their endocrine system with testosterone. Now, I could be wrong because I don't dabble in performance enhancing drugs, so I don't know the nuances of it. But the only time I've ever heard of men taking these type of products have been in a bodybuilding or in a sports enhancement way. Like didn't Roger Mathis, the football player, get caught with this same drug and catch a suspension? I believe so.
It's called, I mean, if I'm mispronouncing it right, it's called clomiphene or clomiphen.
I think the street name is Clomid. I think that's like the street name that it's like how Duranabol is called D-ball. I think this is called Clomid.
Got you. Yeah. So it's used to induce ovulation. And for those of you guys who don't know, in a foggy world sometimes, but ovulation, we don't go through it. Men don't go through it. Athletes don't go through it. So if you dig a little deeper, why athletes use this, and a lot of times it's as a masking agent. I'm not a genius at all when it comes to PEDs. With that golf score you just told, that round you shot, it sounds like you might have something going on.
Well, JJ, can I interrupt you on your own program like a rude person? He got caught with the same drug Brock Lesnar got caught in 2016 when he was in the UFC looking like Mr. USA.
Wow.
So the same drug he got caught with is what Brock Lesnar got caught with. Now, I'm not condemning him. I'm just saying what I'm doing research and what I'm looking at the other people that are getting caught for this drug, and they're all looking like guys that maybe don't pass the eye test in terms of performance enhancing stuff.
And I never would have thought that of Conor Benn until we seen this information today. But if you look at his pictures now,
you don't have a boxer.
You looked how ripped, how big his legs was. This dude was like a modern day sculpture, bro. Like, but this is my thing right here. This is what upsets me about the situation. Not only did he put some of that weird stuff in his body, that's belittling the sport that we live in, because that's the total disrespect to do something like that. This is my thoughts on why he did that, right? His father and Nigel Benn and Chris Eubanks Sr., they had a big-time rivalry, right? Everybody from the 214 to across the pond, we looked at Chris Eubanks Jr. as a good fighter, but everybody looked at Nigel Benn as the killer. They looked at him as that guy, right? After all the rhetoric through the press conference and Nigel Benn being real monstrous, we seen Chris Eubanks Senior go in there and handle his business. That never left the mind frame of his son having to grow up, in my opinion, see all of that, having people talk about his daddy and saying, oh, you were supposed to do this, you was this killer and you lost to Chris Eubanks Sr., right? In his mind, he didn't want history to repeat itself again. So in his mind, he was willing to do everything possible so he could put, the Ben name already had some respect on it, but it was a sour taste on it because he lost to Chris Eubanks Sr. So he wanted to do anything possible to rewrite history to make it where a Ben beat a Eubanks.
Eubanks. That's a hell of a point, bro. Listen,
that's my thoughts.
I like it. Conor Benn did go on and instead of waiting for his PR folks to put out a statement, he did have something to say. Let's listen in real quick to what he had to say.
I know your legal advice has been not to say anything to anybody, but you wanted to come and speak to us today. The floor is yours.
Well, listen, I wanted to say this personally. Obviously you guys have read what the Daily Mail published about me today, and I wanted you guys to hear it from me personally rather than reading it in a statement from me and my team. I've not committed any violations. I've not been suspended. So as far as I'm concerned, the fight is still going ahead. I've spoken to Chris personally, and we both want the fight to go ahead. We've both taken medical and legal advice, and as I said, we want the fight to happen for the fans. You know, I've signed up to every voluntary anti-doping testing there is under the sun. Throughout my whole career, I'm tested. You know, all my UK tests have come back negative throughout my whole career. I've never had any issues before. Even in the lead up to this fight, my tests have come up negative. You know, so my team will find out as to why there's been an initial adverse finding in my test. But as I said, as far as I'm concerned, the fight is still going ahead. I'm a clean athlete, and we'll get to the bottom of this. I just want to thank everyone for their continued support, and I'll see you all on Saturday.
Just one more question on the conversation with Chris Eubank. Did you reach out to him this morning? How was that conversation?
He fully believes. You know, he believes in me. And, you know, it's not who I am, it's not what I'm about. You know, I'm a professional athlete, and, you know, he was understanding.
So as far as you're concerned, we both
want the fight to go ahead. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, the fight is going ahead.
Okay, Conor, really appreciate your time.
So, Corey, we do a segment called Spit or Shit. Spit or shit. We'll go around the horn, Corey.
Oh, that's the shit of the week, fam. Like, and that's what a cheater, that's what they always do. He talking about, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't been caught with it. Chris Eubanks Jr., what reality are you looking at? The test came up, said this was in your system. And then he said, I don't know if you got that clip, JJ, where he just said he talked to Chris Eubanks Jr. Then Chris Eubanks Jr. came out and said, I ain't talked to him. What he talking about?
I didn't see that. I didn't see that, man.
He said, what he talking about? He said, I ain't talked to him. He said, man, I did everything that I was supposed to do. He pulled up his shirt. He was ripped. He was in shape. Eubanks Jr. was ready for this fight.
I saw Eubank tweet like a frowny face or a frustrated face or something. I don't know. Lukey, what are your thoughts? Spit or shit?
I mean, this is a thumbs down, bro, because there's like what I said with Paulie and like that man from who talks about everything from the 214 across the world. When anyone ever cheats in this sport, there's something wrong. The system broke. Everyone's against them. We never hear someone get caught for a test and say, you know what? This was a big fight. There was a lot on the line. Maybe
no doubt.
Chance. This is what bothers me. Chris Algieri's career essentially ended going against Conor Benn. Chris Van Heerden got hurt in that fight against Conor Benn. How do you think those people now feel seeing this? Right?
Were they doing beta testing?
There was no beta testing for them.
Chris Van Heerden came out and stated, I wonder if he was on this stuff against me. Obviously, he was.
And that's a great point. And that's a great point.
Hey, this clip isn't too long, but listen, we know Eddie Hearn is Conor Benn's promoter, but we got a clip of Eddie Hearn before this went down. I don't remember what fight this was for, but listen what Eddie Hearn has to say about PEDs, and he takes it a step further. Why the other guy sometimes shrugs his shoulder and says it's okay about PEDs, similar to what Ben says or Chris Eubank is doing right now. Take a listen to what Eddie Hearn had to say.
I don't need to save money. I want to put on good fights. So that was a good fight for the zone. So I'm disappointed. But what is the point in signing up for drug testing if when you fail, everyone just goes, oh, don't worry about it. Just let him fight. You know? Yeah. So, and the argument of, well, it's all right with UKAD is totally irrelevant. You've signed drug testing with VADA, the best testing agency, in my opinion, in the sport.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie. Boy, JJ. God damn it, JJ. Boy, that is a hell of a clip you just played, my guy. Because now I want to see what his thoughts is on that now, since this is his guy. And let's be honest, it's been rumors about his guy Anthony Joshua. I ain't trying to put that jacket on his back because he never been caught using anything.
But there's been heavy suspicion because no other heavyweight looks like him.
Nope. The last one I can think of is Frank Bruno. And like I can't. Anthony Joshua's ripped. He's a giant. He don't have an ounce of fat on him.
He looks like a bodybuilder, and bodybuilders have things that they do.
Lots and lots of things that they do. But I don't know. I haven't heard. I've been kind of in meetings all afternoon. Has Eddie Hearn responded? Have we seen anything from Eddie Hearn since this morning?
I ain't seen nothing. I personally ain't seen nothing.
I saw it at the Matchroom. They had an event. They had like a scrum, but like it. Look, Eddie Hearn's trying. Like this is a major event that's going to make a ton of money. This is probably DAZN's biggest event, unless Anthony Joshua comes back in terms of gate revenue, Matchroom. You can't, like, in his position, he's not going to be like, yeah, man, this is a great testing agent. Like, he's just doing whatever he can to get to the money. And that's honestly what every promoter does, right? They say what they say to get to the point to make as much money as possible. So I don't think if you heard Eddie speak on this issue, it's going to be him speaking to the point of, how can I make money from this fight?
No doubt. And he's got some huge damage control with that video of him being out, where he's saying Vada is the best testing testing in the world that the sport has to offer. Why do we just let the fights happen? What's the point of it? He's got some questions to answer now, especially if this fight goes on Saturday. I did read that they're having trouble finding somebody sanctioned. And I don't know if anybody wants to chime in. They're having trouble finding somebody to sanction the fight last minute. Let's just give a shout out real quick to our homies, Al Money 231. What's up, guy? Oh, Thriller, the Black Picasso. This guy just had an insane interview with Mr. Blair the Flair Cobb yesterday. Much respect, sir. And then we've got Al Money again saying what's up. So if any of y'all want to chime in on the panel or on the chat about any updates that we may have missed, I don't know if Eddie Hearn's responded to the situation. I do know that they're having trouble finding somebody to sanction the fight. Now,
well, they can't sanction the fight. The British Board of Control said they can't sanction it. So
out.
I guess what they'd do is they'd make it an exhibition bout, which I don't think that the British board would be keen on, because then if you fail a test, wouldn't you just oversee the problem with what could happen with this is, what's the point of a drug test and a sanctioning body if people fail, then we just put up exhibition bouts, even if they failed to meet the criteria of fighter safety.
100%, man. And this is going to put the onus on all of us who love the sport, who claim to love the sport, and who claim to care about the fighters. I know Corey does. I've had conversation with you, Lukey, where I know you care about the fighters.
Hey, you know
what? Put the onus on all of us, because yeah, we want to see this fight, but where do we draw the line? Yeah, there's money involved for the folks involved, and the sponsors, and the promoters, and the ticket sales. But us as fans, I think selfishly, yeah, we want to see this fight go on, and it sucks when a fight gets canceled, especially when it's been hyped up like this. But we, as a fan base, I feel, have to put a stop to this before somebody dies in the ring again. We're seeing enough deaths and severe permanent injuries in the sport. Corey and I have a foundation for it. But if we really care about the fighters and we really care about the integrity of the sport, this falls on us to where even if they do make it happen, as tempting as it sounds to tune in or to pay your money or whatever the case, we have to make a stance if we don't want to see these fighters continue to get injured, continue to get brain dead, continue to die.
This is my thing right here. I want to hear the greatest of all time speak on this when it comes to performing enhancing drugs, right? I want to hear the greatest of all time, because out of no other sport, they let this guy in our sport, and Victor Conte. I want to hear the greatest of all time. Remember, that's the same guy who said he could beat any drug test. That's why I'm questionable of the SNAC program and anybody who associated with the SNAC program. But, like you say, man did his time. He came back. Am I supposed to believe he clean? Yeah, he ain't been caught for nothing. So I'm going to give him his just due, but I want to hear him come out the greatest. He the GOAT. It ain't nobody who ever did it better than Victor Conte. I want to hear the GOAT come out and tell me what this drug does.
I agree. I'm trying to look up. There's somebody trying to sponsor this fight or trying to sanction this fight, and I'm trying to figure that out. I'm just kind of reading up on it right now since I'm a little bit behind. They are trying to put it on, man. right now, guys, are y'all, based on what we know, do y'all anticipate this fight happening?
I hope not, bro. Like, boxing's in such a bad place right now. I hate to be negative, but like, fights aren't getting made. We got influencer boxers who are doing street drugs and then fighting each other, and it's just a matter of time before someone gets hurt playing boxing. And we're not adhering to any drug protocols at times. Like, this is my thing with these type of things. I hate that there's mismatches in boxing, that we have plus 3,000 favorites and we allow that to happen, because that also seems like an issue with fighter safety. And I hate when people fail a drug test. We have a zero tolerance, that we don't do that. It shouldn't be, oh my God, this fight makes a lot of money. It should be, no, you failed the test. It's over. You messed up. Everyone blame this guy for messing up. Because we don't do that, because there is still a chance that you can fail and fight, for some people, failing a drug test is a positive thing, because there's a risk reward element.
Sure.
For it.
That's a great point you said, but if that's the case, why let Victor Conte in our sport? A guy who said in the drug test, a guy who went to prison for doing this. Why let him in the sport of boxing if that's the case?
I think the reason is boxing is just like so unstructured. All you have to do is attach yourself to anyone. I'm kind of in an awkward space because like I know Victor and he's a good guy, but like I get the perception from the average person, because it's like if you just look at his history, you'd assume the worst, right? Because you just assume all of that. But I think the issue is, and why he can be in the sport is, all it takes is attaching yourself to one credible fighter, and now you're there. And that's something I talk about in my book, is that there's a lot of people that can get into boxing just by finding the right fighter.
No, I mean, that's true, but that ain't answering the question. Yeah, everybody could be a nice guy, but that's the same guy who said he could beat any drug test, right?
Yeah, he can. He said that. But
didn't he say that, Lukey?
I mean, I don't know, like probably, but like I don't know. I haven't seen the interview. Like I genuinely have. Like I'm not even being funny. Like
let me tell you, Victor Conte said he could beat any drug test,
and that sounds like something he'd say. Like it
no,
sounds
but he
like
said
something.
that before he even got caught. You remember? He was the guy giving Barry Bonds the clear. But they let this good guy, he's a good guy, but they let him in our sport.
Well, here's the thing, though. There's no structure. Like what you said, no structure. It's the wild, wild west in boxing. There's not one board or one person that says we don't allow him in our sport.
And beyond that, if you try to not allow someone, there's going to be someone that's going to work with that person, because then they're going to be like, okay, I need to go over there. And that's the issue with boxing. Like you said, JJ, there's not any structure. There's no sanctioning. It's just like who's winning at the moment.
It's all money, man. It's all money. And the things that make our sport beautiful are also the things that curse it. You know, ideally, you're not supposed to have, this is a worldwide international sport where anybody ideally is supposed to fight each other. We don't have leagues. We don't have associations and, that sort of deal. But that same concept is what kills the sport. Like I said, it's the wild, wild west, and anybody could jump in, which is probably why Victor Conte's in boxing, because the NFL, the NBA, MLB, nobody will allow him in. So he's not working with you. I don't know. Maybe there are some UFC fighters in the snack program. I don't know. I don't know if there are or not. If there are, I wouldn't imagine Dana White letting that.
Having no structure still don't make it right. Victor Conte shouldn't be associated with no sport. When a guy come out, be that arrogant like that, because like we said, if we so animate about cleaning up the sport of boxing, how is this guy in our sport?
And here's the thing. I'm all about second chances, right? And restore. Now hear me out, Corey. And restore.
No, but I'm saying, like, no, don't defend, don't.
I'm not.
I don't want to hear nobody tell me Conor Benn should be away from the sport or they should be banned when Victor Conte is in the sport. A dude who did this for multiple athletes.
No, yeah, hear me out. I'm all about the concept and the idea of second chances and fixing your life and bouncing back. However, our sport that we cover is a life or death sport. People die in that ring. Like you said, Lukey, people are going to get hurt from trying to play boxing. So this isn't let me hit the ball with a stick. This isn't let me see how far I can throw the ball. Or this isn't let me see if I can hit some threes. This is I am giving myself an advantage to beat the hell out of the guy in front of me. So I agree 100% with Corey. If I'm anybody, if I'm anybody, it's all about second chances. Yeah, don't make the same mistake twice. But you wouldn't put a sex offender in a school. You know what I mean? You're not going to give him a second chance. And for me, it's that serious. You know, I know you say you know the guy, Lukey, and there's got to be an element of respect, and that's totally cool. But for the man's for career, I don't think he should touch a sport that's so life and death, that at least once a year we hear somebody dying in the ring. So I feel you 100% on that, Corey. And then going back to the Conor Benn situation, if we're doing zero tolerance, Lukey, I know you keep saying zero tolerance.
Well, but I want to clarify my term on zero tolerance. Zero tolerance, not banning someone from the sport. Zero tolerance in terms of you cannot compete on that given night with said suspension. So, like, I think that the big thing with me when it comes to Victor is with my religious beliefs, I do believe in second chances. So with a guy like Conor Benn, I'm not going to condemn him that he failed it, but I'm also not going to trust him. Kind of the same way that Mr. IOTBA looks at Victor and he's like, okay, I'm not going to trust that you're doing the right thing. I'm a person that believes in second chances, and I've also felt the transformative effects of boxing. I think boxing has a thing in which it can uplift people and it can actually change people for the better because you catch the boxing bug. That being said, I think that it's always reasonable to have suspicion around people based on their past, but it's also important to judge the present. The present right now, Victor's working with some fighters and he's got a nutrition company. And Ben failed a test. And like, that's the thing. I think that at times Victor can rub people the wrong way because he wants to speak on these subjects based on his past. And then that can also rub people the wrong way.
But see, the only thing, that's a great assessment you just made. I would agree with it, but I can't when I heard Victor Conte say I could pass any drug test. So it ain't just suspicion there, right? Because like you say, NFL didn't let him in, baseball didn't let him back, basketball didn't let him nowhere near. He got in our sport in boxing. So when he said he could beat any test, that ain't just suspicion. That's facts that we know this guy told us he could beat any test. So I just don't get it. You know, I'm not in boxing. You know, I care about these fighters, but anybody who associated with Snack, I'm suspicious of. I talked about this. Even the Devin Haney's, the Terrence Crawfords, and anybody else who done been associated with. I'm like, why would y'all go to this guy when y'all know his past?
One thing that just came to mind, and I can't believe neither one of us three have touched this. That Ben name is big in boxing, but that Ben name is bigger in boxing in the United States for what reason? What is Nigel Benn?
Gerald McClellan.
Yes, the G-Man. Gerald McClellan is brain dead. He's a vegetable now since that fight. So don't you think that family should be extra sensitive for fighter safety? I'm not the jury here. I'm not a judge. Nothing. I can't believe we haven't addressed that. But Conor Benn and Nigel Benn should be extra sensitive to what goes in their body because we have a potential Hall of Famer in Gerald McClellan. The reason for our entire charity and our foundation, the Warrior Foundation, Conor Benn's daddy was there, and I'm not accusing Nigel Benn whatsoever. You know, that was a beating. That was a hellacious fight. But I feel like it should be in their back of their mind. That should be something they stand for, is to be extra careful for what goes in their body for the safety of the man that's across from you, man. I didn't even think about that until just right now.
Hey, Jay.
That's crazy, dude. Thoughts?
Well, I think the issue with like I think everyone fighter safety is such a tough issue. And over the past few years, it's really hit home with me because I shot a video with Max Davashev and then he passed away. And then Charles Conwell, someone I view like a little brother, and to see the stigma that was carried over to him based on his fight with Patrick Day and just the way people treated him, that's tough. I think the issue is with fighters more than any other athlete, people love to just brush under the rug. Oh, well, they know what they're signing up for. I forget I was on a podcast the other day. It was Sean Fitzgerald of Boxing Rundown. And he made a great point where he said, driving a car is very dangerous and you could get in a car accident. But if you get in a car accident, we don't always just blame, oh man, he was using a car. That's what happens. But for boxing, how often do we excuse and desensitize? Oh, well, he's a boxer. So then of course he's going to get brutally damaged. And I think that's also part of the unhealthy relationship of us as spectators. Some people use and abuse and commodify a fighter and throw them away. I try to look as a fighter as a human life and try to respect the fact that they're doing something brave. But I think that there's a huge disconnect for a lot of people of the human being the fighter is.
What do you mean by throw them away? What do you mean?
Like literally like a commodity. So like I just drank this water. So it's like, okay, they were on my television product for 4 years. Now he's no longer on my television. I can archive him in my archive memory of being a fighter, but he's no longer going to be someone that I invest time in. He was something. Yeah, I'm no longer buying Coca-Cola brand Coca-Cola because they're no longer relevant. I'm going over to Pepsi. It's a transactional relationship. It's capitalism. It's consumerism. They're consuming the product. And once they're no longer providing good fights, I have no interest in that fighter unless someone weaves a narrative fabric to bring me back in.
You're 100% right, man. And this is, again, I'm not making corny plugs here. When Correa and I came up with the Warrior Foundation, where 10% of everything we make goes to those families, when you look at the life of Gerald McClellan now, and you look at Pritchard Colon, like nobody remembers them, you know, and especially in this sport.
Magomadov,
there's another one, man. Yeah, they just get forgotten. As long as they're not on the TV, as long as they're not the next main event, the public forgets about them. And in those cases, it's not just the public. We've got certain personalities and names in boxing with hundreds of millions of dollars that could pay attention to these families and get them at least the help they need, but they don't. So it's not only the fan base that forgets about them, it's their peers, it's their colleagues, it's all of that. It's the entire industry. And that's a huge problem in boxing. As long as you're not putting up my fights that I love to see with my fighter, as long as you're not doing that anymore, boom, off you go, like that bottle of water you have over there.
And I don't think it's like throwing the fighter away, right? Not caring about the fighter anymore. I think in some sense people do that. I guess that's just people who really don't love the sport of boxing. But you got to look at it both ways. You know, when the fighter's out there and he winning, he want all the attention, right? He wants you to be around. But when things don't go his way and they lose, they isolate themselves. They don't want to talk to anybody. So, yeah, I do agree with your point, but I think it's also the other side to that too, Big Dog Lukey.
For sure. And I think that's why this is a fun podcast for me to be on, is where we have some different opinions, but we're kind of figuring out all these opinions and talking through it. I think this is a good informative conversation because we're conducting ourselves like adults, but we're thinking through situations, you know? So I think just talking through this type of stuff, I think is very helpful. And this is something I talked about in my book, how boxing's built in this way where if you make it to the top, it's not advantageous to help others because you're at your highest earning potential. And it really kind of hurts progress in terms of things like, I'll be exaggerating, like a union or something like that, because you have to give up your highest earning potential. You ran the gauntlet to make all this money. And that's kind of like what I think also hurts boxing is we built this thing where the winner gets all the spoils.
Yep. And that's why I ain't gonna say no names, But I talk to well-off fighters, trainers who've been in the game, Hall of Famers, just good fighters. They say every fighter. I ain't gonna put that jacket on every fighter back because I don't know that. I'm not there. I don't see what these guys do. We know it's cheating in boxing, but they say every fighter cheats, right? And what you speaking on about the money, if you cheating, you winning, you get all the money, you gonna keep doing it, right? And what they say, if you can get away with something, you're gonna keep trying to get away with it until you get caught. Conor Benn got caught today. You said something earlier, right? And I'm not like, especially in boxing or even in any sport that's physical like that. I don't believe in second chances no more when it comes to steroids. Because a second chance, how can we trust that guy? How can we know this guy in boxing, yeah, he might be clean for a couple of fights, but he won't do it again, right? So I don't believe in it. I think it should be a strict statement made by boxing that if you use performance enhancing drugs, you're done. And that's the only way. That's the only precedence that's going to be set that could clear up this problem we have in the sport of boxing.
Dude, that sounds extreme, but you know what? If I'm a fighter and I know I got a payday and I know I might be not physically competitive, matched up or whatever, but I know that if I pop, I never get to fight again. That might be the extreme turnaround we need for fighter safety. The hell with the event, the hell with the spectacle, the hell with the pay-per-view numbers. It might need to be something like that, man, because again, how many people are going to have to die? You know what sucks about all these? We just lost somebody last week, a Colombian boxer. But since it's not a big name, it doesn't make headlines. But if we lost somebody like one of the big names, somebody from the pound for pound list today, or an American boxer who's on his way up, then maybe we start having these conversations. But it sounds extreme, Cray. I get that. And I don't know what your thoughts are, Lukey, but maybe an extreme change like that is how you turn this ship around for good.
I get what you're saying. My only fear is there's going to be circumstances where something goes wrong and someone's going to be wronged. And like from a policy standpoint, I don't like the idea of one and done because there's going to inevitably be an anomaly where someone's condemned. Like I like maybe 2 failures and you're done. But it's like I just don't like because you're playing. Like I understand the concept and it would be effective. I just fear for the fact that there is going to be that person that has a
false positive,
or like let's say marijuana is a PED in one state and they test positive, but there's a 0 tolerance. So a fighter tests positive for marijuana and now they're banned for life because a certain state deems that a performance enhancing drug for whatever reason. Because we all know these lists of substances change. We don't always know what it is. And because, like, if you drink, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think if you drink enough coffee before a fight, you could test positive for a PED. There's a bunch of things. So I get what Mr. IOTBA is saying, but I also think from a policy standpoint, you have to have a buffer because there's always going to be mess ups.
And and that's another great assessment you just made, Lukey. And I'm going to have to counter that once again, sir. Earlier about the human life, right? I love the human life, right? And I don't want the human life to have to go through another tragedy for these guys putting something in their body. These guys don't deserve that second chance, right? Because like I say, if you cheat, you're going to do it again. You spoke earlier about Van Herden and
Algieri.
Chris Algieri ain't boxing no more because of Conor Benn. How much money did Chris? Look, I believe he cheated to beat Chris Algieri because this ain't just started happening now. How much money did he take out of Chris Algieri pocket? Chris Algieri don't even fight no more, do he?
He might come back. You never know. But I
Yeah,
think
but
that he's good. But I mean, I think the bigger thing is Chris possibly could have gotten like a Baranchek fight or a cool old guy fight, and he's probably not going to do it. I think the crux of this argument is I believe in second chances, even if they're extreme second chances. And if you don't believe in second chances, you believe that the inherent character the person is, then that's where this argument will go two different ways. I'm a person that believes people can change. And it sounds like when it comes to sports that you don't believe people can change. And that's a fair opinion. That might be more true than me. I just believe in second chances.
I'm not willing to take a chance. Like I said earlier, you're not going to put if you're a recovering cocaine abuser, you're not going to go get hired as a bouncer at a club. Again, the pedophile, the sexual offender comparison I made earlier, you're not going to work at a daycare or a school. So for me, yeah, I'm all about second chances, but we're not going to throw you right back in a scenario where you're dealing with people's lives like boxing. And
I just think that there needs to be more stringent testing on anyone that fails with no, like, if you fail, there's very little to come back from. And beyond that, because I guess most of these fighters, this is the issue I have. They started fighting when they're 20 years old or like 8 years old, 7 years old, maybe 10 years old. It's hard for me to say. More than likely, a lot of professional athletes are abusing drugs. And more than these people that are getting caught have learned this behavior from a top tier athlete. Wouldn't we assume this? That if someone's doing it, they're not just going out and like a top tier athlete. I'm not 100% on this, but if someone's doing PEDs, more than likely one of their role models in the gym did this, and this was viewed as this is the next step to being elite. So it's hard for me to shut the door so permanently on someone's life when it's a sport like that. I understand human life and that component, but to me, it's very harsh, a one and done when the spectrum is so wide. I think maybe if you get caught with HGH and EPO and like a cocktail of all that stuff, you're done. But it's such a spectrum, it's so, at least for me.
No, and that's totally understandable if that show stand on it. And, if that show stand on it, that show stand on it. But this is my thing right here. That's a hard stand to take, giving somebody a second chance. What if they do it again because that guy ain't got over it? I don't care about what type of test you got. And then that guy get in the ring and take somebody's life, and we gave him a second chance.
And it's a discussion that can go on for ages, not just in boxing. It's all about second chances. But
in certain things.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation.
Man, Conor Benn shouldn't have failed the test, so we didn't have such a sticky conversation. It's all his fault.
But listen, it brings real issues to surface. We have to talk about them. It's our duty. It's our job.
Which I think like a 5-year ban or something. I think that's harsh.
Well, yeah, that's a career.
I think 2 years and 5 years. That would be what I'd do. 2 years, the first failure, 5.
I'll do 5 years, first failure, second failure, you're done for boxing. Because 5 years, that's going to take away a lot of them. A lot of the money that they can make 2 years, a lot of fighters take off for 2 years and come back.
We see fighters take off for 2 years just for the hell of it.
Just for the hell of it.
You know what I mean? So,
5 years, that's going to really sting them. I think it should be okay, if we're going to say second chances, okay, I can agree to a second chance. But in the second chance, it's going to be 5 years before you step in there.
See, that would work for me. Because then if you come back to boxing, you're really giving yourself a second chance. You get what I'm saying? Like, you have to really redeem yourself if you're going to wait 5 years and put your life on hold to come back. That really is a second chance.
I love it, man. I love it. And the more we have these types of conversations, the better the sport can get. We're just a little old TSB, but somebody's going to listen and somebody's going to take this and run with it. So we got to keep having these conversations. Before we go on, because we got Lukey here for another reason to talk about his book. If the fight does happen Saturday, who's y'all's winner?
I don't want it to happen, so I don't even want to pick a winner.
I feel you on that, man.
I don't want it to happen. They should not let that fight be sanctioned.
I'll retract.
If that fight is sanctioned by anybody in the sport, that is setting the precedence in boxing that is not a good look. You can't get popped for something and be able to fight in 3 or 4 days.
Same weekend.
No way.
Luke, any final thoughts?
Boxing will boxing. If it happens, Ben will win.
I feel the same, but I don't even watch the damn thing, to be honest with you. It's a terrible precedent.
Can I say one thing about that?
Go ahead.
Before this happened, I never thought Ben gonna beat Eubanks Jr. I didn't see it. But...
go ahead. I was just gonna say there's a female fighter on this card named Ella Scottney, and I believe she was on the Michaela Mayer card that got canceled, and now she's on this card, and it's getting canceled more than likely. If she doesn't get 2 fights and she did nothing wrong, we should at least acknowledge that this is happening to her, because she's getting screwed out of training camps, working hard and not doing anything wrong. And I just find it a shame that people that do all the right things in boxing often get thrown to the background. And I just want to bring her up because I might be mistaken, but she deserves mention because she's probably out a lot of money and she's chasing a dream, and probably no media outlets are even acknowledging, if this fight is off, that she's lost 2 fights. And if she says it, people be, oh, you're complaining, this, that. So I just wanted to bring that up, that she should be acknowledged for the fact that
and she definitely does. And I feel bad for her. And the thing about it too, going forward, if I'm any fighter fighting on the undercard, I'm setting my contract. If something happened with the top fighters, if they get popped for illegal drugs, you still have to pay me. That's the only way I'm taking this.
Or
fight.
At least a portion. At least a portion.
No, they got to pay them full thing because it's, look, like Lukey just said.
Damn, that's a hell of a point.
All this money to get all these different sparring partners in, paying for their meal preps, doing all this. A portion is just going to put that back into what they spent. They need something for all that extra hard work they did. They should get their full purse. It's not the undercard fighters' fault, JJ, that they're not going to be able to fight. They should get paid in full.
And listen, the truth of the matter is most professional boxers can't afford to professionally box 100%. That being their full-time gig.
They have professional jobs, most professional boxers. They got professional jobs and go to the gym after work.
100%. And that's something that we don't talk about. And I appreciate you bringing that up, Lukey, because I was about to jump into talking about your book. But, it all ties together with your book because it's about the life of the boxer, seems like, with your book. But that's a hell of a point. Like, that's an added responsibility if you're the main event. Like we talked about responsibility earlier from the Benn family because of the tragedy that occurred in the 90s. It's a responsibility for the undercard, for the people that are fighting under you, that are trying to pay their bills, not even change their life, but just pay their bills. And it changes everything for them, man. And it's sad. It's terrible. I hear what you're saying.
It's selfish.
It's super selfish, man. And I don't know how they could write that into. I was just saying, I don't know how they'd ever be able to write that into a contract, because at the end of the day, it's about revenue. It's about making money. So how are you supposed to guarantee these fighters a check? Because a lot of promoters are going to say, well, look, are you going to get in or out? I see your stipulation, so we're not going to put you on here because the main event might fail the test. So there's so much shit that could go wrong in boxing without any plan Bs, without any there's a word I'm looking for. But
I just want to also say, even if they pay Ellie or other fighters, she's out 2 fights. She could have had 2 fights to advance her career to be where she wants to be. Sometimes money for a boxer isn't the end all be all. They want to get to a world title. They want to get to main event fights. If you're doing these training camps, fight after fight, older fighter, middle, maybe not older, maybe in the middle of your athletic prime, you want to get to be a main event fighter. You want to be a world title contender. Going through a training camp and not getting a fight is one of the most discouraging things. And I've seen it in the gym. People get athletic depression. They'll be training for no reason. And I'd like this young woman to get some support, because it's like she could just get screwed here.
Yeah, man, that's an excellent assessment, bro. This is terrible.
Yeah,
this is terrible, bro. Only in our sport, though. This is terrible, man.
Yeah, I'm even listening. I'm gonna pick back up on this, but I've heard just in side conversation with Lukey, I've heard you kind of be like, I'm over it. I'm over the sport. Like, you know, I'm dug deep. I'm in too deep, but you're kind of over it. And having conversations like this kind of makes me feel the same way. Like we're sitting here supporting a sport that has so many holes from fighter safety to corruption to judges to everything, man. So it's definitely leaves a sour taste in my mouth. But
I mean, boxing is the sport of overpromise and underdeliver. People will sell you a dream, and then the dream will turn out to be the 99-cent store. And then every now and then it turns into one of these fantastic fighters. And it's just, after a while, you just get tired. The problem is everyone kind of knows you after a while, so you can't just gracefully just fall away because people be like, oh, what about this guy? And now you're back. It's like the alcoholic working at the bar. It never quite works. You know, I'm not going to drink. I'm just at the bar. I'm going to run the front of the table. I'm going to take people to the table, serve them food. And all of a sudden, you know, you see people having fun. It's just a sport. I've said it before. Boxing is kind of like an abusive relationship if you become passionate about it. But at times it can be a healthy, functioning relationship. So I think for me, it's balancing it and not having like an unhealthy relationship with the sport.
No doubt, man. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Lukey, if you don't mind, while we're on break, it's about a minute break or about a 40-second break, but put your link for the book on the comments. We'll bring that up and we'll talk a little bit about inside the ropes. Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. That's the name of the book. So whatever you just said, that's the name of the book. I'm going to try. I thought I'd posted it a few times, but I guess I didn't. So it's coming to you soon, Jack.
All right, here we go. Give us 60 seconds.
We all have battles. We fight. We train. We work. We persevere. And we celebrate. We are all one.
I can't do anything if I can't walk in my prosthetic. It's a lot of pain that I feel throughout my day. It can be very intense. Now I just put that balm over it and it will heal up much faster and it will let the callus recover. That's amazing. It is a total game changer. I am hooked. I am absolutely, I'm just hooked.
Life is hard. KO makes it better. KOCBD.com.
KOCBD.com. Check them out if you're in any pain. Lukey, I don't know if you're feeling a little sore from yesterday's round. A, I forgot to tell you happy birthday. And B, check out KOCBD.com. Use their code TSB10. I promise you it works. I'm not just being some cheesy sales guy. It helps so much with pain, recovery, all that good stuff.
I ordered some while the ad was going. I had to get it. It was such a good ad. It's such a good show. I just went on there and bought some.
60 seconds. That's a long time. You can order a lot of stuff in 60 seconds.
Don't test me.
Hey, we
Let's
got
get into it though, man.
Yeah.
The reason why we got Big Dog Lukey in the building today, like I was saying earlier, bro, this momentous for me, Lukey. Like this inspirational. I can't do nothing but be very humbled, you know, and salute you to the utmost, bro, for putting your creativity into this book, bro. This is some masterful stuff right here.
I'm good. And you know what, Corey? He promised us a signed copy, so we'll be waiting for that in the book. And then Corey and I can do story time after our episodes to just read to each other.
I mean, I'll send 2 to you guys, so I'll get you guys. And then I want 2 to the listeners. So people that support this great show, I'm going to send you guys 4 signed copies, and then you can do some giveaways.
We appreciate that a lot.
Your copy going to be right on the set that you give me. I'm putting it on my set right there so everybody could be able to see that every time we do our show, Big Dog Lukey.
Big appreciation.
Well, don't be disappointed when you read it. If it's a letdown, you know, I always tell people they're all excited and I go, well, it might not be good. You know, I think back, I was stuttering, but I think back when I was in 5th grade, I wanted to go see James and the Giant Peach. I really liked the book. I want to see James and the Giant Peach. The movie was terrible for me. I'm not sure it was terrible now, but it was terrible for me then. And that was my golden standard of I was really looking forward to something and it just didn't work. So I'm just hoping it's better than my experience in 5th grade, getting to go on a field trip to go see James and the Giant Peach and just kind of being like, damn, that's it. I was waiting 2 weeks for it.
Don't make a movie of it, dude. You'll be fine. I'm sure. Listen, dog, you've got so much.
Look at you, you a witty, funny guy, boy.
James and the Giant Peach. No, man, but it's cool. You've got so much experience. You've got so much firsthand, like, touch. Like, you've been able to touch the sport and feel it. So what I like about it is you're putting it on a platform, and you're not just talking about boxing. You're kind of changing the perspective. And that's huge, man, because your average fan doesn't know this. Your average fan doesn't know the intricacies of the mindset of a fighter. And it's important, man. I remember one thing you said is this isn't so much for the fan of boxing. This is for somebody with a kid or a coach or something that's coaches somebody. And that's awesome, dude, because I've got an excerpt from the book. Where's the link? I see you put my link, but I don't see.
I can't post the link. I keep typing the link in and it won't let me post it. So I sent to the private chat. I sent a tiny URL. For some reason, I can't post the thing. That's my golf channel. You know, every white guy has to have a golf vlog channel now. So if you like golf, go to my Lukey at the links. We're trying to get some bread off of that. Give me 1,000 subscribers.
You got 4 weeks to go learn everything you can, Corey. All right, so
you guys should have signed me up for the. Okay, there it is. There it is. I couldn't do it, but they could. That's the link.
Yeah,
If you think I'm a cool guy, buy the book. If you don't like it, give it to someone. It looks really good on your dresser. If you can't really read, it says you like boxing. So there's multiple varieties for it, you know.
My question, Luke, is I know you've been covering boxing for a while.
Yeah, I don't even know how long, to be honest with you.
How long was your thought process on formulating this whole book? What was the time frame? How long was the time frame that it took you to formulate this magical piece you put out?
5 days. My friend Frank Staya basically was like, hey, bro, you need to write a book. And we were talking how friends talk. And then my other buddy, Mike Lee, he has a podcast, Lee's Unlimited Fitness. He was like, if you write a book, that's your ticket to the Hall of Fame. And I was just like, I didn't really think. I like when people say stuff, like I'm just like, whatever. So I sit down on my computer and I write 70 pages in 4 hours. I didn't really know what to write about, but I wanted to write a book for myself when I came into boxing and the things that I wish I had known. And then when I did that, I'm like, I got to 70 pages. Then I wrote 200 pages. Then my girlfriend edited it. And then she was like, half of this stuff's terrible. So she cut it down to 117 pages because she goes, it's either rambling or no boxer is going to want to read something too long. So we really cut it down, changed some of the language because the goal was, my favorite book is Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince. I reread it once or twice. I read it like every other week. I always go back to it, read passages. And what's funny about this is Machiavelli's The Prince and Richard Caro's The Master of the Senate are my two favorite books. They're both kind of written in this same manner where they're like, this book, if there was a category, it would be a treatise, which is what Machiavelli's The Prince is. It's a treatise. That's the technical term. And it's kind of funny. Unknowingly, I didn't put any thought into that. I just wanted to help people. And I feel like I wrote a book that was kind of in that vein of writing, which is funny because I read that book so much.
Nice. So you telling me you put this book together in 5 days? You just got in your computer, you sat down and you just started typing 70 pages, Lukey?
So I did that. And then the professional stuff took longer. So then hiring an editor and paying an editor. So then that took 2 weeks. Then my girlfriend, after I had done that, she was the second pair of eyes. So that took another about 2 weeks. Then getting a professional cover done by Kronk Art, getting that done right. Okay. Like all of that, all of the other steps took longer. And I kept thinking, damn, is this book even good? Like I kept going back and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, I'm like, every time I keep thinking, because I tell people this and I'm like, did I just rush it? Did I not do it? But I guess the story is I had so much to say on this topic I didn't realize I was repressed and holding in these feelings, and it just came out because I really wanted to share it, and it was very therapeutic, I guess.
Yeah, like that gift. The once you get going, man, once you get going, it's like texting your girlfriend or your wife whenever y'all are on bad terms. The texting fingers just come out because your heart starts pouring. Lukey, if you don't mind, I'm going to read a passage, an excerpt from the book. And this excerpt kind of gives a really good idea of the perspective where the book is coming from. Are you cool with that?
Sure, I can even do a book reading too. I can give you guys, we can get real poetry corner on you.
No, I'm going to read this, and I want, if you're watching, I want you guys just to tune in and listen. You know, we're not just, this isn't the reading hour with Corey and Lukey. Like, I want you guys to listen. This is a perspective from the people we watch every weekend and we talk about. So I'm going to read an excerpt. If it's a little long, I'm going to cover my face so you don't see me reading. But it goes like this. It's virtually impossible to be a legendary fighter and fight with emotion each and every night. Doing so is unsustainable and exhausting. It's like living your life and using anger as your sustainable energy source. It just doesn't have longevity. Emotion simply clouds a boxer's judgment. We know, for example, that alcohol heightens emotions and creates an impairment of judgment, which can lead to bad decision-making. Emotion is the alcohol inside the ring for a fighter. The more they show emotion, the more things can go wrong. One of the biggest things that limits fighters in the humanity of the sport is the humanity of the sport. The truly great fighters are not just able to get hit, but we have to appreciate that they normalize fighting, which is actually not normal. Why might you ask a fighter to remove emotion? The answer is that emotion is controllable. A great fighter wants to give you no entry into their thought process. They want to be observers who take everything they see and apply it to their craft. During the final days of a fight camp for one of the biggest fights I've ever been involved with, I remember a fighter looking at me and telling me he felt like a caged animal. He explained he felt as though he was capable of doing anything. He felt so in control of his body and emotions, he could restrain himself until he got in the ring. Controlling your emotions is about learning to regulate yourself, which can be difficult. It's about discipline, which is also difficult. My grandfather, a former boxer, would compare a boxer's lifestyle to that of a monk. Learning how to be able to separate your emotion from the sport of boxing will take you to the next level. It's kind of a meditation. As you get more advanced, you'll fight the same people. You'll have friends who are coaches inevitably coaching against you. Friendships don't have to be lost if we can be professional and step back from the emotion that can build from a big fight. Boom. That's poetry, man. And it's fact.
Say, Lukey, God, Jesus. Lukey.
I'll give you the intro of the book. So we'll go poetry corner. So you want to be a boxer or you're a parent of someone who'd like to box. Either you're a lifelong fan of the sport or you have a child who's getting into some issues at school or outside of school, and boxing now seems like an outlet that can help redirect their life in a positive direction. Boxing as a sport has created success for many people, but the sport is not without its pitfalls. This book is meant as a guide to help you navigate the sport. It can be hard to be involved with boxing at a professional or high-level amateur level without getting burnt out. Coaches will put 10 years of training into a young boxer only for the fighter to quit or even worse, leave for another coach. Boxing can be unforgiving and is not for the faint of heart in all aspects. Former President Harry S. Truman once said, "If you're looking for a friend, buy a dog." And in boxing, that saying is even more true. The more successful you are, the more you must remember most people are not your friends, even if you talk to them a lot. This has to do with the competitive nature of the sport and the way power and money are ultimately distributed. In the end, everyone wants a big fight, but there just aren't that many big fights to be had.
I love it. And you're setting that precedence, man. Like you said, when we were talking about Machiavelli, like it basically teaches you how to be a ruler, or not so much the teach you how to be a ruler, but everything that comes with it and how to be prepared for it. And same thing with this. If a dad or a mom is saying, "Oh, look, this looks like a fun sport to keep my kid off the streets." Well, if your kid happens to be a talent and your kid starts to rise in the ranks, there's some dangers that come involved. This isn't T-ball. This isn't flag football. This isn't Pop Warner. You know, you're teaching your kid. Like you said, I said this when we had Take Money on the show, Corey. You damn near have to be a psychopath to sign up for this. Because you said it in your excerpt that the goal is to normalize boxing, punching and fighting and getting hit in the face, which in itself is not normal. So there's a lot involved with becoming a boxer. It's not just your kid can run fast. There's a whole mindset thing, and you're kind of setting that preparation for parents or whoever the case, coaches, what is to come if this is something you plan to do. So, dude, I love it. I think it's an excellent concept and great perspective.
Can I share one story that's not my story, but it's something I think about a lot, and it's something I think overarches with kind of how I mold myself, especially on the internet. I don't really like the 48 Laws of Power. I don't find it to be that interesting of a book, but there is one law that I find interesting, and you guys might know it. It's law number 5, and it's about reputation is the cornerstone of power. And I think if anyone's going to take anything into anything, they should think about how, I'm going to say the person's name, but it's like Chaco Ling had this. Basically, there were ungodly amount of troops coming to get him. So what did he do? He basically vacated where he was, told everyone to leave, and then he sat at the gates with the gates open and played a flute. His reputation of being this fearless general who was leading someone into sabotages made like massive amounts of troops call a retreat because they thought they were going into their peril, their doom. I say all that to say, when you sign up for a boxing gym, you also need to understand the reputation of the boxing gym. You need to understand the reputation of the program, the coaches, because you could possibly just sign up for a football program, and then when you go to high school, you could have a more reputable program, and there's a track. Boxing, unlike any others, requires a level of navigation of the system and being around people who would be willing to take you to a national tournament, that would be willing to drive you 2 hours. Not everyone's going to do that, and you have to really take onus on yourself to be willing to do that.
I love it. Courage has spent a lot of time in gyms with the kids. Damn, Lukey, the kids love them out here, dude. And Courage, talk a little bit about your experience with the kids and how important something like this is, man. I mean, this is big. This is cool. I mean, this thing could take off, Lukey. I really love it, man.
No, seriously, because what a lot of people who love the sport of boxing forget to understand, the kids are the root, the fruit of the sport of boxing. Our kids are our future. So it's up to us. Like, I got Big Dog Lukey spreading the word around to all these fellow young fighters, not only young fighters, but professional fighters, and not just professional fighters, but in any genre of what type of work you do in life. We need this type of message because it's so important for the root of the fruit.
No doubt, man. We talk a lot about mental health on our show. We talk a lot about kids on our show, and we talk a lot about the past legends who are like I said, brain dead now. And this is kind of all encompassing because we're seeing it a lot in conversation now. Hell, I don't know if anybody really caught wind on this, but Canelo gave a full mental health speech in Spanish. We've seen Broner come out and say what you want. Ryan Garcia, we saw Danny Garcia. These guys are speaking on mental health now because they're going through it. And if there's a way where we could prep these kids who are signing up for a gym, because you never know what that future might look like. If we could prep them and stay ahead of it, then maybe they don't go through these struggles. There's always going to be struggles, but maybe it changes that trajectory of their career and more importantly, their lives. So
yeah, well, they're better aware of the situation.
I think how many fighters have you met are the next Floyd Mayweather, right? You'll go to a gym and someone will pull you aside and they'll go check out this kid. He's the next Mayweather. He's the next Ray Robinson. I think the problem is, right, and we chuckle because you've seen it, right? You go to the gym and it's a gym that doesn't get many media and you're just going there because I love going. I don't go to the big fights. I like going to the gyms and I like seeing a kid's face light up and knowing that he might not join a gang or he might stay in the gym because he saw me and he thinks that I'm way more important than I am. And he stays there because of a positive. That's what kind of gets me excited, is being a role model, being a good fixture, ambassador of the sport. That being said, it's always positivity when we're seeing kids come up. This is a very harsh sport. It's like the Army almost. When you sign up for the Army, you know what you're getting into. When you sign up for boxing, everyone I don't want to say they lie to you, but they basically say, oh yeah, this kid's going to be a world champion. Do you know how hard it is to be a world champion? I have not been with a fighter from the ground up and seen it happen yet. I think it'll happen. My goal is to be around 5 before I'm done, but it's very difficult. And the sink or swim from standard for most coaches that I see when I go to the gym is, oh yeah, he's going to be a world champion. And that's like saying in the NFL, you're going to be an MVP. You're going to be an MVP one year. Well, there's only about 10 chances you get, and you got to make the NFL. And it just sets this standard that, okay, everything's positive. And then if I can't get signed, oh my God, what's wrong with that? Why am I not getting signed? And then if I can't get fights, why can't I get fights? There's a lot of issues that I feel like people don't know they're signing up for when they sign up to be a pro, and they have to learn the hard way.
And think about it, Luke, a lot of guys who we see have that window to possibly be a star, you know, they get it fed in their head they're going to be a world champion. Then we see the guys lose. And then the guy don't know how to react to a loss and know how to bounce back because he been feeding his head. Nobody could beat him. He's the best of the world. Then they go through a adversity, and that guy never be the same. I done seen it a lot, Lukey.
No doubt, man.
I mean, it's just sad, bro. And I'm sorry to cut you off, JJ, but it's like, do you know how many people I genuinely care about and I've been around for years? And people, the fans, they don't know any better, but I have to be the bigger person because they'll be like, oh, that kid's worthless. Oh, he's not good. And there's a human component to this, right? Because it's like, if someone faced adversity and mental health issues when they were a teenager and they make it on television and they were signed with a promotion, that's a huge deal. If someone got it from the ground up from national tournaments, but everyone overlooked them because they were superstar fighters, that's an accomplishment. What frustrates me and what pulls me away from the sport is we can't just say certain people are great fighters. Everyone has to be an all-time great or bust. And that's what just kind of bums me out. Robson Kosakawa, who lost to Shakur, is an absolute fantastic fighter. Shakur just happened to be better. But we can't be reasonable. It has to be, oh, Shakur hasn't fought anybody. No, that guy's a great fighter. Shakur just put together a good performance. Now we can get into the weight issue, what have you, but we don't treat this sport like other sports.
No doubt, dude. And you see it when you put out a pound for pound list. Like, nobody has an issue with NFL power rankings that come out every week or whatever the case. But you put out a pound for pound list, and that's literally saying, in my opinion, the top 10 fighters right now, you know, you got to look at what they're doing right now, how active they are, and whatever your measurables are for pound for pound list, it's fine. But when people don't, let's call it the fan bases, when their favorite fighter doesn't make the top 10 list, it's like number 11, number 12, number 13, whatever the case. It's not something that's still huge.
And that's a big accomplishment. But everyone's like, oh, God.
Yeah, being a top 25 fighter in the world is great. Being a top 50 fighter in the world is fantastic. Just because you're not on a top 10 pound for pound list, or just because you haven't had just because you haven't defended your belts yet, or whatever the case, man, it doesn't. You're right. In boxing, it's all or nothing. You're a taxi cab driver, or you're a pound for pound list. You have it's so black and white. Well, we need to realize that there are people who are extremely talented, and they're just outside of it. So, like, if you lose a fight, like Shakur's last fight, yeah, you just weren't the better man that night, but you shouldn't get thrown to the trash. You're on TV. You're on a main event against one of the best fighters in the world. So,
and then the thing is too, JJ, they got to look themselves in the mirror and understand the truth. They got to really be able to assess the fight that they had. Sometimes fighters got to even assess their corner man who they got in their corner. Them just big time decisions you got to make, because you just got to do it sometimes. You know, this is boxing. This ain't called hurt your feelings. You know, you got to really assess yourself as a fighter. If you take a loss or two, and you have to really look yourself in the mirror and be like, well, you know, this ain't work. Like, I could go on for days about it. Because it affects me having relationships with these fighters. It's tough.
But as a young kid, and you're right,
them lose.
there is some accountability involved. But as a 20-year-old kid, you pull up social media and everybody is saying that you're dumpster fire and you're not good and you suck and you're overrated and you're a bum. Words like that I hate to see in boxing, especially at that level, but I hate to see it. How does a 20-year-old respond to millions of people saying, oh, you lost a fight, you got exposed, and now it's crazy.
I understand that, but how do they respond when everybody telling them they good?
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
The vet.
So they overpromise, underdeliver.
It comes with the territory. And everybody know that. It comes with the territory. When you're doing good, you're going to get all the praise. When you do bad, people are going to come at you. They just come with the territory. It's an even kill.
I love it. Shout out to Fred Cavazos. Coach Fred said absolutely right. I'm assuming he's agreeing with all of us. And Luke, you going to his point, man. Coach Fred, the United Boxing Gym out here in DFW, he's been involved with the sport since the 80s. He's a coach now. He's been on a Canelo card doing big things, but he's got huge focus on the kids. And for that, man, I'll always appreciate him.
And this is the one thing I love and respect about Coach Fred, right? He trained, women boxing is just now
taking off.
Just do right. But I seen no coach in the DFW area who specialize in training young girls and young women fighters more than Coach Fred. I got the big dog salute him on that.
Yeah, big up to Coach Fred, man. Before
Shout
we got
out
one
my
more
guys, Vincent Reyes, Reyes Boxing too. I think, don't they have Nicole at their gym? Nicole Casio?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And they had Sierra Martinez there for a while. I like what you said about that because it shows that you're a real boxing person, because a young woman's dream is just as important as a man's dream, right? The gender shouldn't be the deterrent of someone's dream. If that's your dream, it's someone who's a role model and a teacher's job to say, okay, let me grab your dream and let me try to get, with my talent, take it as far as I can take it. It's not the coach, in my opinion, it's not the coach's job to say, oh, you're a girl, you can't do it, and kill it.
That's why I always respect Christy Martin. Not only is she a teammate on the KO Therapeutics team, KOCBD.com, but Christy Martin, do you know the shit that she went through in the 90s? I don't know if y'all had an opportunity to see her Netflix, that Netflix special she had, but dude, and I remember I was a kid, but I do remember people laughing at her whenever she was on a Tyson card. She was always on Tyson's card. Like, she didn't, and the girls today didn't have to do what Christy Martin did. So big salute for her for being a trailblazer. But we're finally seeing the women getting the respect. We've got a huge card. I wish we had time to talk about it.
One more thing though, and this one thing that I respect about Coach Fred, right? And I got much love for him because I done been to a lot of gyms in the DFW area. No gyms specializes in training young girls and young women, or look at them or make them believe and actually put in the time and the hard work to make them the best that they could be. And I'm not going to BS you. When I first came into the sport of boxing, Coach Fred made me understand how the young ladies need their opportunity. They need their moment. They need the same attention paid to them as any other young dude or young man in the sport of boxing. And I got to salute Coach Fred on that 100%.
Let's give him a big dog salute. Not just any salute, a big dog salute.
Big dog Lukey salute. Hey, before we go on, are y'all good on time?
I got to run in a second. So you guys might be doing Fundora without me, but that's just because I live a crazy life.
Before you go, brother, one more time. The book is Inside the Ropes of Boxing with our friend, Big Dog Lucas Ketelle.
Yep.
Tell them where they can buy it from. In case
Amazon. You can go get it. And we didn't touch on one of my role models in the sport, Jill Diamond, who's always been good to me. And she's a really, really great person. And I'm a firm believer in the WBC cares and what she's doing. She wrote the foreword, and that really meant a lot to me. We're talking about women's boxing, strong women presence. I don't think you can find a stronger female presence in boxing than Jill Diamond. And what's more impressive to me is no one will say a bad thing about her. So not just does she have a strong presence, she also conducts herself in a way where she leaves a favorable impression on everyone. So that was like a big moment for me to ask someone that I look up to and them to say, okay, I'll do it. Because like a lot of times you don't want to do that type of thing because you don't want to be like, man, I don't know if you're ready for that one. And the fact that she hit me with the forward, that really meant a lot because, like not a lot of people would do that off the rip. They didn't know what I was writing. They didn't know if this is even good. I could have been writing a lot of cuss words, and she took a chance on me, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I love it. I love it, dude. And again, on behalf of TSB, like, dude, huge congratulations. Guys, if you're watching, just go to Amazon. Y'all spend more money on dumb shit. Inside the
Get your
Ropes of
CBD too.
Yeah, check out your KOCBD.com, but go to Inside the Ropes of Boxing or go to Amazon, look up Inside the Ropes of Boxing. It's $10. Buy the book, show some support for the sport, show some support for a true fan and like I said, a guru of the sport in Lukey.
And listen to the show. If you're broke, like, hey, I'm not judging you. If you don't got your money, then subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, hit the thumbs up button. And whenever I get my money up and I can send some books out to the great state of Texas, guess what? You might, if you tune in every single week, you might get one from a giveaway. But you gotta subscribe today. You gotta hit the thumbs up button. You gotta leave a comment in the comment section, and you gotta really be checking in. You gotta be checking in every now and then because those pop-up giveaways, they pop up out of the blue. So you gotta be subscribed and hit that bell notification too for the TSB.
Yeah, that show would be nice, man. I'm tired of telling them. But
we coming down tonight, man.
I appreciate it. You guys are a ton of fun, and I just want you guys to know I respect what you're doing. And this was so much fun just having this because like what I like about your show, now I'm going to talk about your show, got to go get dinner, is I like that we didn't play softball. We played hardball, but then we got to where we wanted to go. So we had the conversations I feel like everybody wants to have, but everyone wants to be friends. We were friends, but we had the conversations, even though we had different viewpoints. We came at it playing hardball, but we didn't play disrespect ball. We didn't word fight. We talked through it. And I thought that was really cool because I wish more YouTube channels wouldn't do the word fighting and they just would kind of hear people out. And because I'm a big fan of multiple perspectives. So I thought that was really awesome how you guys set the stage and create an environment for such a cool conversation.
No doubt. No doubt.
Appreciate it, brother. Thanks for joining us, man. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Well, JJ, man, been a good show. We had Lukey, man. Salute to everybody who came on. I'm like, Lukey, I got to go grab me something to eat too, man. Big dog salute. We'll be back on real soon.
Yeah, we'll be back, brother. Have yourself a good night, dog. And hold on, there's one more thing I want to say. It'll come to me. I'll probably have to text you later. But appreciate you guys. Y'all like, y'all subscribe, y'all share it, hit the thumb, hit the bell, and we'll be good to go. But tune in, stay plugged in, and we appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good night.
This is JJ Solomon.
This is Ray Bradshaw, Mr. RTBA. Mr. These boys can touch me on my worst day. This is the Spit Bucket Podcast.